When the Tshwane Council sits, this amid service delivery crisis in the capital. Some affiliated municipal workers have been protesting over a pay increase, and over 100 have been fired for participating in the unprotected strike. Now, the matter is likely to come up on the agenda, with some political parties expected to argue for their reinstatement. Let's head over now to our reporter, eNCA's Pule Leshwiti-Jones, who has the very latest for us. Pule, a very warm good morning to you, colleague. What can you tell us in terms of what you here on the ground ahead of that council sitting today?
Well, Tumelo, firstly, what I can tell you and show you is that if I step out of shot, you can see there's quite a lot of police officials to ensure that council isn't disrupted today. We also saw members of the K9 unit actually going inside the council to sweep and ensure that nothing will be disrupted, particularly because we are anticipating a march from the Church Square in Pretoria, where members of SAMU and EFF will be marching to the headquarters of the Tshwane municipality, demanding that the dismissed workers from SAMU be reinstated as well. But also, we do know that there are some key reports that will be adopted by council today. And of course, to give us more clarity around this, we're joined by the Mayor of Tshwane, Cilliers Brink. Cilliers, Mr. Brink, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Maybe let's just start with what we're expecting today, particularly because we understand that we could see disruptions as well with the march plan between SAMU and the EFF. Are you appointing a CFO for the city of Tshwane to ensure that you stabilize the city's finances?
So yes, it's very important, the appointment of a new top management team. That's the only way to change the culture of an organization, is to get the right people in those positions. They have been vacant, and it's not just the CFO, it's the head of audit, head of Metro Police, head of fire brigade, head of the city manager's office. So we believe that this new team of managers, apolitical professionals, will have a very important task in stabilizing the institution, getting things done, getting us out of financial distress, but also eventually making Tshwane an employer of choice for people. That's what we want to be. We want to attract the best people so that we can give our residents the best possible services.
We understand that there's also an idea of wanting to have a deputy mayor or position for deputy mayor in the city of Tshwane. How will this be done, particularly looking at the fact that the city really says does not have the money to even pay workers?
So the creation of a deputy mayor position was part of our coalition agreement, is part of our coalition agreement. Action SA is entitled to that position. It has now been several months since the 2021 local government election, and it is important that we implement the agreement. So we've taken certain measures as the mayoral committee to recommend to council. For instance, the new deputy mayor will be a member of the MACO. It won't be an additional member plus then the MACO members. It will be an Action SA MACO member. That will be a significant cost saving. But also it's the first step. We'll write to the, if council approves, we'll write to the MEC for local government of Gauteng. He will have to give his concurrence. But Pule, in essence, you've got to implement the coalition agreement. Gauteng is governed by coalitions, and if we can't implement these agreements and stick to them, then we're going to have instability.
Your coalition partner, Action SA, seemingly disagreeing with the workers being dismissed. What's your take going forward? Does the status quo remain, that these workers will be dismissed? I mean, this is the reason why we're seeing the EFF and SAMU members marching to the headquarters today before that council meeting, saying workers must be reinstated. Previously, with council sitting, the EFF causing disruption, saying workers must be reinstated. Pressures mounting. What would you do, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, just to comment on the conduct of the EFF, they are the party of violence and chaos. They'll always find some reason to disrupt. You saw the scenes at the last in-person council meetings, shirts being ripped off of councillors being beaten up. This is deplorable conduct, and I wouldn't even put the conduct of the EFF as part of any concern about the workers. They are opportunists, and they'll try to use any opportunity to cause chaos and violence. As for our engagements with Action SA, they are a valued member of the coalition. We discuss these issues in internal coalition processes. I respect those processes, and so I would want to confine that discussion there. But in essence, Pule, this city has adopted a budget with a funding plan. We are in financial distress. There is no money to pay the increases. And the actions that have been taken by the city manager in terms of dismissals, that followed due process. ultimatums, warnings. That's the way that you make sure that bad conduct is countered, that people come back to work, also the docking of pay. As a politician, I wouldn't want to interfere in labor processes to tell the city manager, reappoint this person, reappoint that person. Some of the folks that have been dismissed have been engaged in violence, in intimidation. And if I, as a politician, were to interfere, undermine the authority of the city manager in that way, we're just going to encourage more violence and more misbehavior.
Sure, but as the head of the city, you can also have a discussion with the city manager as to what is going on right now, because SAMU also says that it's their workers who are being intimidated. The city saying, some of the folks from SAMU were involved in the mayhem and disruption in the city of Tshwane. When do we see an end in sight with all of this chaos happening, particularly with what the union is saying to say you need to reinstate the workers or else the disruptions will continue?
So if SAMU is saying their members are being intimidated, they must please come forward with those details and they must report it to the police. Unfortunately, that's not happening. So I tend not to believe SAMU when they say that. Of course, we can't say that this has been a SAMU strike, but they've certainly been at the forefront of this action. The discussions I've had with the city manager is how do we create an organizational culture of performance and accountability? How do we restore services to residents as soon as possible? And by going back on the disciplinary processes, we'd undermine that. We'll prolong the strike. So if you want to prolong the strike, you will buckle to pressure, to violence. That we won't do. And we also have to be honest with workers. We've been in mediation, we've been in talks. I'm willing to have any discussion with the trade union leadership, provided it is peaceful, provided it is orderly. But they also have to understand at the outset there is no money. We don't have the 600 million for the salary increases, and we can't accept violence and intimidation and criminality as legitimate bargaining chips.
I see you've also asked for reinforcement from police officials. Have you received any communication as to how long this police enforcement will be around to guard some of the key points in the city of Tshwane, particularly with how we've seen, depots being targeted, substations being targeted, amongst others as well?
While the risk remains, it's essential for the South African police to be involved. I mentioned a few weeks ago that there was an important investigation. And for arrests to be made in that investigation, we need the continued support of the South African police. It's not just about protecting us at a council meeting, it's also about protecting the public, making sure that some dastardly deed is not committed where people's lives are lost. So we appreciate the support of the South African police, and let me just also make it clear that there was a very specific threat from the EFF to say they will make this city ungovernable today. On a council meeting. Now that is a breach of the Code of Conduct for councillors, the new Code of Conduct adopted by the Deputy Minister, and it's potentially a criminal offence. So if we've been forewarned, then it's only appropriate that the South African police are here to protect the assets, the personnel, the councillors of the city.
And in the middle of all this, politicking, squabbling, we're seeing as well the EFF, like you're saying, making those kind of threats. Where are the residents at this particular moment? Does service delivery continue to be interrupted? We do understand that in Hammanskraal today, residents are marching, saying that they don't have electricity and water. We've seen previously in other areas as well, such as Cilliers, where waste collection was really causing a headache for the city of Tshwane. Where are we as a city? Where do we stand currently?
So the strike has caused a disruption of services, especially the element of violence, but we're seeing an improvement. More and more people are coming back to work. We're doing well with our waste collection catch-up schedule. We're not there yet. We're not at the ordinary schedule where your waste is collected by as you expected weekly. But there's been significant progress. The important point to make, Pule, is to understand what is at stake. So there are some voices that say, just pay the workers and this will go away. But there is no money. If we pay those salary increases, if we withdraw the review application, this city will be in very, very deep financial distress, to the point where we won't be able to pay salaries by the end of the year. We won't be able to administer pension contributions. That is what we want to avoid. This is not just about service delivery now, this month, this week. It's about the sustainability of the city over the next decade, and it's about the jobs of the people who work here. We must protect those jobs. And if we make financially irresponsible decisions, we'll put those jobs at risk.
Mr. Brink, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Pule.
That's the City of Tshwane Mayor Cilliers Brink speaking to us this morning. And like I said, we did see a lot of police vehicles actually entering the headquarters this morning to ensure that there is a bit of stability. But of course, the mayor saying that it seems as though word on the ground is that there could be disruptions from some of those from the EFF benches, being the opposition parties as well. We also do understand that while that's expected to happen, we have been, of course, told that there will be a march between the members of the EFF and some workers who are saying that the city should reinstate the 102 SAMU workers who were dismissed as a result of them allegedly embarking on an illegal strike. But furthermore, the city saying that it simply does not have the money to process over 600 million in outstanding payments. Of course, would be also salary increments as well to some of the SAMU workers. It says that really isn't any financial muscle to execute such a mandate. And therefore, we're waiting to see how this day will unfold as to whether this council is expected to sit and speak about issues of service delivery and the city's stability will commence today.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep a close eye on it, Pule, because at the end of the day, those directly impacted are the residents of the city of Tshwane. My conversation yesterday with Action SA's Funzi Ngubeni, he did mention that there are no winners in this particular strike and, a tit for tat between SAMU and the city of Tshwane. It is the residents that are the biggest losers, but hoping that, the city and SAMU and the workers would come to some sort of a common ground for the benefit of service delivery. So definitely keeping a close eye.